Welcome to the Scale Model Podcast. In this podcast, we aim to entertain, inform, and promote the hobby of scale model kit building with interviews, reviews, and news about the hobby. The podcast is available bi-weekly where your favorite podcasts are found, including iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher. You can also get it from our website at scalemodelpodcast.com, where you can find show notes, photo gallery, and so much more. You can also subscribe to get notifications on all our updates, new episodes, and video content. Please support the Scale Model Podcast on Patreon. Patreon supporters enjoy early access to content and exclusive contests. Your Patreon support helps us to offset hosting and other costs to bring the podcast to you. Welcome to episode 147 of the Scale Model Podcast, sponsored by Cult TV Man, Sean's Custom Model Tools, and Return to Kit Form. I'm your host, Stuart Clark, and once again, my Canadian partner in crime, he's still off in Ireland, drinking mountains of Guinness and, generally enjoying himself. That's, of course, Mr. Jeff Highland. He's not here tonight, so he gets all the to-dos. But we are joined by another good friend, of course, Terry Measley from west of Chicagoland. How are you?
Doing pretty good, Stu. Good evening, and it's the end of summer. It's football season now, so
yep,
building while watching football is kind of a weekend.
Yep, college football.
I kind of hope for
NFL
rain on
football,
Saturdays.
Exactly. You never get much time. I know I'm seeing a lot of it in my Instagram feed. A lot of Ohio State stuff because you
go Bucks.
That's your fault, right? Because you tend to follow it, so it naturally says, "Oh, maybe Stuart would like this because Terry follows it."
Yeah.
So I've been following.
Oh, I'm so glad to see. And our next guest, guest tonight is John Novak, who just flashed a U of I logo at me.
Oh dear.
When I was in school in the mid to late 80s, Illinois was like a powerhouse in the Big Ten. Of course, we were all pretty bad. But I got used to seeing us lose to Illinois back then. And I'm glad to see him doing well.
So why don't you go ahead and finish introducing our good guest, John?
John Novak is president, right? Of the are you president?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, of the
not by choice. Everybody else took a step back, and I was the one guy left standing up front.
No IPMS president is by choice. And
yes.
If they are, they shouldn't have the job.
Agreed.
John is president of the IPMS Butch O'Hare Club, located here in Illinois, Chicago area. It's I think the largest of the regional clubs, and puts on probably the largest show in the region, the Butch O'Hare Show, which is coming up on November 2nd. Similar to many of us of certain vintage, grew up in the 70s, was into models as a kid. Is a good way to keep out of trouble. I used to build a lot of cars, even the big ones. Yeah, I never got to build the big ones. But then went off to college and pulled them away from Cousteau's Calypso and all his airplanes. And then after having kids and the kids getting interested in it, was able to get back into it. Eventually found it, I'm sure he'll tell us this story, eventually found his way to the Butch O'Hare Club. And then that set the hook. He was in for good. Butch O'Hare's show, I'll let you tell us about this and the meetings and everything else. So welcome, John, to the Scale Model Podcast.
Thank you, Terry, and thank you, Stuart, for having me.
Yeah.
As they said, my name is John Novak, the president of Butch O'Hare IPMS Model Club. I guess I'll start out with, should I start out with some show information? Get that?
Sure.
Yeah, let's do that first.
Yeah, let's get that out of the way.
So, just in general terms, if your listeners probably know what an IPMS show is, but a lot of people don't. So if you don't, there's a contest area, a vendor area, and then what I think is the fun third area is the raffle, right? So it's amazing how many people you run into when you're in a hobby shop or even at some other vendor type event, and they just don't know that these shows exist. So it's important to explain to people that it's not just a contest. It's not just a vendor area. It's both. And there's this fun stuff, and you're surrounded by people that are like-minded, but also diverse. So this is it'll be our 41st annual show, which if you do some quick math, we've been doing it since the early 80s. Our club has been around since I can't even tell you the year that it was founded, and I need to find that out because there are a couple founding members that are still with us. We lost a treasured one a few years ago, and we actually named our Best in Show award after Don Grayjack. He was legendary. And remind me, I would like to tell you, or maybe I'll come back with his grandson and he'll give you the whole Don Grayjack story, because that guy is worth the whole podcast, to be honest.
Let's do it. Yeah, let's do it.
Sounds like
so back to the show. The theme is spectacular 60s. So anything 1960s. I like to keep our themes diverse, so that you can, some people build sci-fi. Well, okay, Star Trek, or anything that was on TV in the 60s or on the screen in the 60s, or, ships, planes, tanks, cars. There's so much that you can squeeze into the 60s theme. So the show is it's 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., but the 4 p.m. is kind of a guideline. It's when we're done judging, give everybody a little chance to, kind of realize that we're done judging and we're about to give out awards, and then start the awards. There have been times when the show runs really late, like 5 o'clock, and people don't like that. So we've started to get the judging process done earlier and earlier. Last year we were done by 3. So I don't want somebody to show up at like 3 o'clock and think they're going to get an hour of the full show because it says 4 o'clock on the hours. It's more like, for vendor purposes, it's very front loaded. And actually, that reminds me, this is important to tell people up front. We're a bit unique in that the plan is at noon, we kick the people out of the contest rooms, so that we can start judging without people hovering over our shoulders and asking questions and distracting us. When we do that, we kind of herd them into the vendor room. So if you've been to these shows before, everybody goes to the vendor room right away because they want to see everything before it's all gone, right? And so at about noon, the vendors are starting to think, well, we've done 90% of possible sales. Is it worth waiting around for another hour or 2 or 3? And they start packing up. And so, our head judge wanted to clear people out of the contest room. And I thought, well, okay, I don't want to do that because I don't like when people are looking at models and we tell them to leave. But to benefit the vendors, okay, let's push people to the vendors. They get that second wave of, oftentimes too, when you're at these shows, you do the circuits around the vendor room, and there's a lot of things that you're like, well, I don't know, maybe, and then you go back and the vendor's gone, or you go back and the item is gone. So this is that chance for people to do that final lap, and then when our judging is done, and honestly, we start judging early because we don't do first, second, third judging. We do gold, silver, bronze.
Okay.
And actually, so I'll just go off on tangents now because I have my list of things to talk about the show, but I guess when I get to the judging thing, I should describe what our judging is. I could maybe finish the facts about the show and get back to judging, but I think it's important that people know what the differences are too. And it's maybe interesting to modelers. So
sure.
Yeah. We're finding that a lot more people are looking at, a lot more shows are going to gold, silver, bronze. And
right.
We've talked about it quite a bit.
I'm just going to jot that down as a topic to return to, and I'll finish with the show information. So, so the show is 9 to 4 is like the official hours. We do an 8 a.m. early bird. So for $10 more, you can show up at 8 a.m. and get early access to the vendor room. Which is more for collectors. The average guy isn't going to really, well, I mean, you never know. If you find the right deal, it's totally worth the $10. And if you're not doing anything else at 8 a.m., why not? Admission to the show is $5 general admission, 12 and under free, $10 for the contest, which includes 2 model entries for the contest. And then each additional entry is $4. Juniors 16 and under are $3 per model flat rate. So if you're a junior, you don't have to pay the $10 if you just have a model that you want to enter. But we do have to charge for each model because the medals we give out cost us more than $3. So technically every junior that wins a medal, we lose money on, but you never lose when a junior wins a model at an IPMS show because the look on their face is priceless.
Yeah.
So So our show is, as you said, Saturday, November 2nd. The location changed this year. It's Wheatland Salem Church. I do have the address. It's 1852 95th Street in Naperville. So it's basically Route 59 and 95th Street, if you're familiar with that area. It's a little bit east of 59. Fairly easy access from whatever direction you're coming. It's a church with one of these nice multi-purpose rooms, like a large gymnasium essentially, with good lighting. It's very clean. It's recently built. There's nice lobby areas and wide hallways. It's attached to a school. It's attached to classrooms and meeting rooms. And so we're going to have our contest in these, medium-sized meeting rooms. And the vendor room is going to be in this large multi-purpose room. So I think it's going to be a great venue for an IPMS show. It'll be our first time there, so we're sort of learning on the fly, and we will be open to suggestions for any improvements for the future. But so far, we like everything about it. I think it's going to be a great setup for a show.
Awesome. Yeah, fingers crossed. It's been a struggle since not being able to go back to the school.
Right.
That was pretty ideal.
On that, so I'll comment on that. So here's the thing about schools, and I agree. The school was nice because it was basically two rooms that were basically the same size. And I've been to other shows that are similar, where it's in a junior high or a middle school, you've got your cafeteria room and your gymnasium room, and they're almost interchangeable. And so one was for vendors and one was for contest. The problem with the school, and it was a nice school, and it was a great venue for us, we couldn't get on their calendar until July. And so we couldn't really set a date until July. We could hope for a date, but they could always pull it out from under us. Okay, well, it wasn't really much of a problem. They were willing to work with us. But then what if they decide to have a dance or something, some event on the night before our show? And we always needed the night before to come in and set up tables and let the vendors start setting up.
Sure.
That became a problem. And so after that became a problem, then every year when we couldn't get on the calendar until July and we weren't sure, there was always that uncertainty that they could kick us out on Friday night, we started looking for alternatives. And so finally we settled in at the Holiday Inn in Itasca, which after 2 years they closed down. And it's actually, if you've read about it in the news, they tried to turn it into a drug rehab facility, but then the local residents banded together and opposed it. And the building has been sitting vacant ever since. That was 5 years ago that we had. So after COVID, after we skipped 2020, we moved to DuPage County Fairgrounds in 2021. And we've been there for 3 years in a row. And that's a good venue, but it's as with everything and everything in the hobby, but everything in general, costs have gotten higher and higher. And there's only so much you can raise the price of tables and the price of contest entries. And, modelers are already just reeling from the price increases on kits and everything else, shipping on kits. I mean, we feel the pain. And so I hate to tell a vendor that, hey, we have to raise the price of tables $10 again. So we've really tried to keep the cost down. And not that DuPage County Fairgrounds was crazy expensive, but it got to be more than we wanted to afford. And we got a lot of complaints about the lighting. It was really hard to see. You need good lighting at a model contest, let's face it. And so ironically, after we made the change, I was there yesterday at DuPage County Fairgrounds for a vendor event that they call a toy show, but it's a lot of plastic models. And I look up and guess what they had up above my head? They had all new lighting up and down the room that we had our contest in. Of course. Yeah, it took us. I mean, we're just one show on one day out of the year, so I can't even imagine that we were the ones that induced them to put lighting in. But for 3 years we tried. So, anyway, so I think that covers the facts on the show.
How many kits do you typically get for entries?
It's about 300.
Okay.
The last couple of years, 300 has been our goal, and we've had 289 or something just shy of 300. So we're hoping, and actually I didn't mention this. Ours is the Region 5 regional show this year, which we you would think I would brag about it more. We're very we're very proud of the fact that we're hosting a regional. But again, if you've been to these shows before and you've been to a regional before, like NimCon, I think NimCon or Mad City was the first regional show that I went to, and I quickly realized that it was the same as their regular show. They just maybe had different medals at the end.
Yeah.
And so, a few years ago when we talked to our regional coordinator and we applied to be the regional, some guys in the club were like, "We can't host a regional. We don't have the manpower for that." Or, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Have you been to a regional? It's basically just our show with a different name." So, but the point of a regional is that it's a step above the local shows. You get sort of a special award. So we want our medals to show that it's a regional medal, not just a regular gold, silver, bronze. And so we do have special medals this year. And also just there's a hierarchy of these contests, right? So once you enter a model in a show, you can't enter it into that show. Like if somebody comes to our show, like last year, for example, the Butch O'Hare show in 2023, and enters a model, that model has been entered and judged at Butch O'Hare at the local level and can't be entered at Butch O'Hare ever again, right? That model can then go to any other local show and it can go to a regional. But once it's been to a regional, that's it. And they don't really enforce this, but once it's been judged at a regional, you're really not supposed to then drop back down to the local level and have it judged at another local show. And then same goes for nationals and regionals. So once you've been judged at regional level, you don't have to climb that ladder. You could just go straight to the nationals, right? But once your model's been judged at nationals, you are normally not allowed to enter it at a regional or local show. So this year, however, for our show, and this will be the case moving forward, we have a waiver from IPMS, from our regional coordinator, that allows us to give out regional awards at our show because it's the Region 5 regional for 2024. Even if you entered at the 2024 nationals that were in Madison, and even if you won awards at Madison, you could win Best in Show at Madison and still come enter in our show because it's the Region 5 regional for 2024. It doesn't matter if it came after nationals. The calendar doesn't matter in terms of like which month it was. What matters is the year 2024. So this was an issue, and we debated moving our show to June so that it would be before nationals, and the problems that would have arisen from that made me go to the regional coordinator and describe the problem, and he said, "No problem, I'll just give you a waiver."
There you go.
Thank you,
Great.
Jeff Hearn. Jeff Hearn is one of my favorite people.
Yep, Jeff's a good guy. We've talked.
So
to him
after running the nationals, you guys know who he is. And I assume you maybe even knew him beforehand. And actually, so that brings up another thing, which is kind of just a funny little side story. And let me get there by saying, if you go to the IPMS Nationals website for information on our show, I found this out today. They have me down as contact information, like for vendors or whatever. And I'm not the vendor guy. Like, I don't know any of the vendors. I don't answer my phone because it's always spam. So I have it on, like, I screen all my calls. People could be calling me and they misspelled my email. So it's entirely possible that people have been peppering my phone with phone calls, and I'm thinking it's some telemarketer. And they've been sending me phone calls and emails, and they're just going unanswered. And I find this out today, and so I've contacted IPMS. That's going to get changed. The hours on there are like their default, which is midnight to midnight or something. So I'm going to correct that. So just so you guys know, it's not exactly how it says on the IPMS USA website. On our website, on butchoharemodelclub.com, we do have the accurate information. There's a flyer there that has all the info. There's a link for vendors. There's a link for printing the registration form for your models. It's form fillable, so you can fill it all out with like, nice, neat computer handwriting and print it out on your printer, so you don't have to stand there at the show and write it all in on your own. So
Very good.
Great.
yeah. I mean, maybe I should go into the gold, silver, bronze.
We've actually covered that quite a bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
most of our listeners know what the difference is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Well, I'll just let them know then that we are Chicago rules, gold, silver, bronze, not first, second, third. And because of that, we can judge as they come in. We don't have to wait for all the entries to hit the table.
That's what we
that's
like.
the benefit.
Our local show here for London, IPMS London, we're going to gold, silver, bronze next year.
Yeah,
Okay.
the Butch O'Hare
exact
show was
reason.
the first model show I ever went to, contest I ever went to, was Butch O'Hare back in 97, 98, somewhere in that range. It was I was completely unfamiliar with model shows and left
There you
before
go.
anything. Yeah, I put my stuff out and then I left, and my friends knock on my door at like 7 o'clock at night. Hey, here's your gold medals. Like, you should have stuck around. Like, what medals?
Exactly. Well, there we
That's
go.
cool.
All right. So sounds like it's going to be a good time. I know Terry's going to be there.
I'll be there at least for shopping and socializing. I don't know if I'm going to be able to compete and stay. I have a concert to go to at night, so I don't know how timing's going to work out.
He's a busy guy. Terry's a busy guy.
We can hold on
Okay.
to your medals. You could pick them up later.
That's a maybe. Yeah.
So we had Bases by Bill make some special medals for us this year
Very
that have
cool.
a little banner across the bottom saying Region 5 Regional 2024.
Excellent.
So,
Excellent. All right. So John, are you going to stick around with us?
I might as well. Yeah. I mean,
All
Well,
right.
feel free. Just like I said, if there's anything that in our news stories that piques your interest, feel free to chime in with your views and all that, and we'll go from there.
oh, you might have a hard time shutting me up. I think the guys in my club tell me that. So we'll
Well,
see
that's
how it
okay.
goes. Just mute me if I don't shut up.
If you see me doing this, you'll know.
Okay.
Just follow along on the show notes for the links as we talk about stuff.
Yeah.
Hector's laughing right now
Oh, that's fine. We'll get Hector
as he's
back.
listening.
All right. So big news out of Canada. We cannot get Tamiya spray cans anymore. Only what's at the hobby shop will now only be available. Even the distributor notified the hobby shops last Monday, a week ago, as I'm recording this. And apparently there's an older rule. It's been in place for a while about certain chemicals, and apparently they've retested it, and the Tamiya spray bombs exceed that. So the distributors can't sell it to the stores. So if you're a particular fan of spray cans and spray primers and those spray bombs, get ye to your hobby store as quick as possible, because that's all they're going to have. Very similar to, some other labeling rules. This is like a chemical one. People say, oh, maybe Tamiya will change it. Well, I don't know. To me, Canadian market is like the size of a Japanese town. I don't think you're gonna. I can't see them doing that. But like I said, you never know. I always say though, this is a good excuse to learn. Get yourself an airbrush. Learn how to airbrush. It'll be cheaper in the end. But yeah, that's about that. Okay. Latest hobby announcements. This is one we don't see very often. Sailing ships. Company called Neverland Hobbies. They are coming out with a 1/700 scale HMS Victory with a full interior, if you can believe it. Some of the screenshots look quite impressive. Very tiny parts.
It's 700 scale is not big for
No,
even
not
a
for,
big the 3-master. That's not a big.
right. But it comes with all the cannon, lots of different materials and stuff like that. So, yeah, this is something completely new with photo etch. So it'll be interesting to see how they pull this off. So that one's interesting.
You know what I'd
Okay.
like to see with that?
Yeah.
Have that Victory parked next to a 1/700th pick your ship.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well,
Destroyer,
I'm sure we'll see that. We'll
a
see like a
battleship.
1/700th Ark Royal or something like
Right.
that. I
I
won't
don't
be
think people
surprised.
realize the size difference until they
Oh
see
yeah.
it.
I was born in England across the harbor from HMS Victory, so I've been there many times.
And
Is
how many
that-
men were crammed into those
Oh, yeah.
ships?
Is that Portsmouth?
Portsmouth. Yeah, I was born
Yeah.
across the harbor in
We
Portsmouth.
visited there once on our way to
Yep.
Bovington.
Yep.
Because
Nope.
that's what you do.
That's what you do. One goes and sees HMS Victory and HMS Warrior.
Yep.
All right, ICM, 7 new releases, new paint, Cobra, Model A, a kitchen truck, and all sorts of things. So how about a Model A standard Phantom from the 1930s with new
Ooh.
parts? So
The
yeah,
Phaeton. Yeah, the
yep.
Phaeton. Yeah.
First manufactured in October 1927.
In 24th scale.
Yep. So that looks nice. 4-cylinder liquid cooled engine with a 3.28 liter displacement and a grand total of 40 horsepower. And
Well, they
look at
weighed
all-
like 800 pounds, I
well,
guess, so.
exactly. And look at all those old license plates you can get. Michigan, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, California, and New York. Next up, we have the AH-1G Cobra and the landing map, the M8A1 US landing map from Vietnam, 1/35th scale. So this looks nice. Looks like some new little bits and bobs. I think this is a retool based on what I'm seeing here. Combines the mat and the Cobra in one thing, so a diorama possibility. Yeah, limited edition. Only 1,000 are going to be available.
In 48th scale, that's nice.
48, yeah, 48th. No, 35th. My apologies.
No, this
35th
was
scale.
says the box art says 48.
Oh dear. Okay, maybe all right, we'll go with the box art.
A helicopter? Did you say it's a helicopter? The
Yeah,
Yeah,
Cobra?
the Cobra. Yeah, if
Yep,
you click on
Cobra.
the links, it'll
48
open up.
scale?
Yep.
That's unheard of.
Yep. They're doing
I mean,
more and more
seriously,
of
how
these.
many helicopters do you see that aren't 35th to go with the armor?
Yep, exactly.
That's interesting.
Well, we'll wait and see what happens as it gets released. Maybe there'll be a correction. Next up in 35th scale is the U.S. Army kitchen truck, the World War II one from ICM. So your basic standard deuce and a half or whatever with all the kitchen stuff, the ovens and stuff like that.
Was it ICM that did the German field kitchen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
I
do a
love
lot of
ICM.
those. Yep.
I know.
Cool stuff, cool, weird stuff. And run by, do you guys know the whole story about the, what plane was it? The one where somebody requested a new tooling of an airplane, and the daughter of the ICM owner was on like a podcast or an interview, and
Oh
they saw
yeah.
the comment and decided to put it in
Yeah,
production.
I heard of that. Yep.
I can't remember what it was though.
Yeah. No, neither can
I'm
I,
stuck
but
on
I do.
Beaufort, Blenheim, all the other B's, but it's
Yeah.
one of those.
So one of those.
No, it's
Uh,
a Handley Page Hampton. It's an H1. It's the
It's an
Handley
H1.
Page Hampton.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. Yeah, those a few
Love
years
ICM
back.
though. What a great
Yep.
company.
Yep. Well, here's another one from them. The Flak 38 World War II German AA gun, 35th scale, 100% new mold, 2 centimeter Flak 38. So, yep. So again, this looks nice. Some nice shots here. This
You're not
comes with
kidding.
some decals, and then we have 148, the I-153 Luftwaffe with pilots and ground personnel. So this is
Not-
a Soviet.
Yeah. Oh, I see.
Yeah,
So it's a captured unit.
captured one.
Huh. And a whole bunch of figures. And
Yep.
ICM does great figures.
Yeah, they do some nice stuff there. So, bunch of them, including people servicing them, someone helping the pilot get a parachute on, etc.
Yeah, the officer with his cross medal there, supervising.
Yep, looking like he knows what he's doing.
One must. One must.
One must.
Yes.
So the Luftwaffe used them for test flight, and some were subsequently transferred to Germany's allies, including Finland. And then we heard us mention paint. This is for their American cars of the early 20s from ICM. 4 paints, a primer, and a varnish. And they've also got a paint set for Ancient Warriors, 6 paints. Silver, bronze, matte red, rusty brass, gray steel, leather brown. Good for your Roman soldiers.
I hope you guys don't mind when I constantly jump in like this, but this reminds me of our club meetings when we go over some cool new stuff coming out.
Yep.
And we kind of love to interact. You mentioned ICM paints, and I know they have a new paint line, and I've seen that giant box of paints. It was up at Nationals. Has anybody tried those yet? Because
I haven't. No,
I
I haven't
haven't
seen them up here
either.
in Canada. No.
that's one thing we like to do is try new paints.
Yep, I know.
Mhm.
I like trying new lines. Just they're tougher to get up here. So, but yeah, something to look at.
Yeah.
Okay, Trumpeter, two new releases.
Next link.
Yeah, they've got the modern day Argonaut and a Hind. So let's start off with the HMS Argonaut by Trumpeter, 1/350th scale. This was a Dido class light cruiser of the Royal Navy, constructed in Birkenhead, laid down November 21st, 39, and she was launched in September 41. She joined the fleet in mid 1942.
Light cruiser.
Yep, attractive
Interesting.
looking. Yep, and she sustained some heavy damage from torpedoes launched from a Italian submarine. She was repaired and returned to active duty. And then she was in the reserve fleet and she was scrapped in 55. But 12 sprues, 600 parts, metal anchor chair included with some photo etch. Quite a bit of photo etch, actually.
Yeah, I mean, we've
Photo
said
etch.
this before, and I really like the fact that they build these up just as is,
Yep,
so you can see, you know, sometimes problems and sometimes areas need to look, but it gives you something to look at.
yep.
My only question is, do I put that on my wish list or the Naiad on my wish list, which was
Put them
the,
both. Put them
the
both.
sister ship that was new
They're
to
not
earlier.
big. They're
No,
not
put them
Right.
both.
big,
No,
Put
right?
them
It's a
both.
light cruiser.
they're big in scale, but
Yeah,
yeah, they're not
room
enormous.
for two. They're narrow. Room
It's
for
nice
two.
actually as
Yeah.
an early for somebody that's sort of new to shipbuilding. You get some photo etch to work with, but it's not 700 scale photo etch,
Yep.
which
Hmm.
usually you think, oh, all right, I'll do a 700 scale because it'll be easier. You know what? It's not. The
No.
350th ones are easier to work with.
Yep.
But don't do a Bismarck. Don't start out with Yamato. Go with something that's geez, do like a Kagero destroyer or something.
Yep.
So
Hmm.
Exactly.
these are cool looking ships with great camo schemes.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
agree. I think these like destroyers, DEs, light cruisers, so they've got a lot of personality to them.
Mm-hmm.
You
They're
can
all a
see
bit.
they were
They're all a
built
bit
for
different.
purposes, right? Whereas
Yep.
battleships, its purpose was like put as many guns on one vessel as possible.
Yep. Exactly. Okay, next up we have 1/48 scale. Speaking of 148 choppers, you've got the Mi-24A Hind B. So this is the A model. This had the unique glass, you know, the greenhouse basically, where the pilot and the weapons systems officer actually sat side by side on these early models. And there was a lot of criticism, and eventually they changed it
Mm.
to, one behind the other. But this did set a helicopter speed record, which in 78, which stood for 8 years. So, this is your attack helicopter and your troop transport. Very unique design the Russians did and met with a lot of success. So a bunch of different schemes.
An
Nice
embarrassing
detail.
thing from me. For years, I thought that the helicopter in Rambo was actually a Hind. It is so not. I went
No.
back and watched that movie not that long ago,
Yep.
embarrassingly, and I'm like, wait a minute,
Well,
that's not what I thought it was.
now you can build one. It also includes masking for the greenhouse. So that's good. What do we got here? 260
It,
parts, 9 sprues.
it does look quite a bit different from the later models.
Oh, it does, doesn't it? Yep, it
Yeah.
was
Yeah,
very
it's
much different.
it's a completely different helicopter
Yep.
almost. Or
Yep.
maybe it is.
Well, basically it was the front end they redesigned. They just, the crews thought it
Hmm.
was a little bit too exposed, so eventually they built more of the bathtubs for the pilot and the gunner.
I don't know about you
Interesting.
guys, but I like the variants of, well, mostly aircraft really, that are kind of derpy looking, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
And the great, like who doesn't love a Fulgore or the Veltro, MC205,
Hmm.
obviously, but sometimes it's like the ugly French bombers that are,
Oh,
Hmm. Oh
tickling
yeah.
yeah.
fancy, right?
British planes that were either gorgeous or just butt ugly.
Just plain
Yes,
ugly.
yes.
Yeah.
But they worked, yes, most of the time.
Yeah.
Okay, how about this? The latest pocket rocket. Magic Factory's getting into doing
Magic
bikes.
Factory.
So they've got 1/9 scale, the Honda CBR 1000RR, the Fireblade SP. So 1/9's a big scale. And this looks gorgeous. Yeah, again, this is basically a super bike It's introduced 30 years ago, street legal but track ready. So zero to a splotch on the road if you're not careful.
Yeah, all these motorcycles look fantastic.
Don't they?
Do you guys
Magic
build
Factory,
motorcycles?
huh?
Motorcycle?
No. I enjoy looking at them.
I've got one. I've got a Tamiya one in the stash I'm going to build at some point.
Yeah. I
I've
won
got
one
some
in the
kits for.
raffle, and boy, those are nice kits.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have an interest in it. It's one of those things that I'm not into motorcycles, but the model of it made
Yes.
me kind of interested in motorcycles, so I
And
could build it.
you can get some pretty amazing stuff. There's a company called Magic Model Factory Hero, and they do some
Yes.
really high-end stuff. And like you can get individual links for the chains and just go completely insane. But yeah, so this is just some initial CAD stuff. They're going to eventually probably release a few more design features, but just looking at the original subject, it's gonna be nice.
Mm-hmm.
1/9 scale, throttle by wire, Honda selectable torque control, quick shifter, smart key, 6-axis inertia measurement unit. So yeah, it looks pretty high tech, and looks like it'll be a nice one to build. Okay, Big Sherman. Oh yeah, more in the 1/16 stuff from I Love Kit. So 16th scale Sherman and M4A1E8. Eventually, I think you're going to get every different model of Sherman in that scale. But let's talk first about their E8 truck 1/35th scale. This is the CCKW 352 machine gun turret version with a towed M2A1 150 mil howitzer. So this is a 2.5-ton 6x6 Army cargo truck. It saw service in World War II and the Korean War, often referred to as a deuce and a half. So this one includes the closed cab, but it has a machine gun on top for crew protection. Yeah, nice looking gun. They have a built-up one showing both of them built there, rather smart looking.
Mm-hmm.
Full on masks, brass wire photo etch included, 14 sprues, 460 parts, and details finally represented by newly tooled parts. So there is some new tool parts in here. That howitzer does look nice.
You said that was I Love Kit?
I Love Kit.
So they did the Easy 8 and the truck with the howitzer?
Yep. And then
That's
we've also,
Is that do you think that's a reboxing or?
I think it's a reboxing with brand new parts.
Okay.
That's what they say there.
That
And
makes sense.
then of course we have the M4A1E8, the big 1/16 scale, $176 from Hobby Links Japan. As I said, I think we're eventually going to find every scale of every Sherman in 1/16 scale at some point. So yeah, what is this one? This is the 76 mil M1A1 gun, 150 cal, 230s, and powered by a Continental R974 9-cylinder, 400 to 460 horsepower engine. Modified one-piece cast hull, heavier full cast turret with a hatch for the loader and the commander. And it also had, to reduce the risk of fires, it had modified wet stowage jacketing for the ammunition racks. Because yeah, early Shermans had this nasty habit of flaring up pretty quick.
They got better.
Yeah, they did. Oh no, nothing.
Good.
Agreed.
Yeah, and this is an E8. This is a later one.
Yeah, this is nice. The cast hole, they got the texturing on the hole in the turret in the detailed shots there. It looks really good.
It does look nice. I like the casts.
Yeah, that
texture.
Looks good. Okay. I didn't get a link yet, but Eduard had their Big E show over the weekend where Eduard and a lot of the Czechoslovakian model makers, model producers have a big show. One thing they did announce a P51 B and C in 1/32 scale that they're going to do. And they're also going to do I didn't put it here, but a 1/72 scale Spitfire, but with the early Merlin engine. But I didn't have links yet, so that's why they're not there. If I can get links this week, by the time we go to air next weekend, I'll add them to the show notes.
I saw my son showed me something of it was the Eduard guy standing in front of the screen, and I think it was a Kitty Hawk. like a P, not a, not Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, but
The
the
P40.
P40, yeah. So I think maybe they're doing a new tool, P40 for next year. I don't know.
Hmm.
They do this great event, but they don't put the info out there in
Yeah,
a
it's
in a
hard to
normal
find.
fashion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
And I'm afraid I've screwed up the link for this next one. So I'm going to have to correct that. But basically a 3D printed Albatross D3W and a Habestat D2 released. Let me see if I can find it again. Give me 1 minute and I'll find it. You guys carry on. I
are you guys
believe.
into World War One planes?
Oh, there's a lot of people that are.
Yeah,
Yeah, I enjoy them,
just
but
on
I
a
have
personal
not.
note, yeah.
I've never built one. I've built
That is
biplanes, but I
it's the
haven't
next
built.
thing that my son wants to build. Just last night, I placed an order at Sprue Brothers for some MRP paint in their 3 different linen colors.
Mm.
So there's like
Here
a
we go.
faded one and I don't know. He picked them out. So
It's from Lucograph. Let me get you the link here, gentlemen. My apologies. Do that.
Luke Greff. That's not where you start.
There you go. Try that one now. So 4 different ones coming out. 30-second scale, good size. These are all 3D printed, by the way. These are injected. These are all 3D printed.
Yeah, the ones we saw last time were the same way. They're
Yeah.
not even any resin casting for the large
No,
stuff anymore.
exactly. And again, look at, you can see how they come.
I would love to see one of these up close.
I am really tempted to buy one once one of the Lucograph kits hit one of these ones I'm interested in,
Yeah.
Yeah.
just to see what it is. I've done that before. It is not a cheap one to do for this, just to
Mm-hmm.
see what it's like.
No, but they make some nice stuff.
5 years ago, 3D printing was still a little bit iffy, the filament type, but
Oh yeah.
these
No,
resin
thanks.
ones.
The resin ones. We have a guy in our club that just produces some amazing stuff with his resin one. He's got an 8K, fairly new 8K printer. It's unbelievable. So,
Yeah, they've really
okay.
turned the corner. Like
Yep.
it's a big difference. You can't really see the lines anymore.
Nope, you can't.
The
You
fine
can't.
detail, it's amazing.
Yep. And that's what you're seeing more and more over like some photo etch. You're better going with 3D printing.
Yes.
Okay, let's move down to our ScaleMates section. So what's new at ScaleMates? So what I do is I give you guys a link that shows full kits, new tooling. We're recording this on September 30th, and we just kind of see what interests us. So again, some more from Gundam IPs and Japanese sci-fi IDs. And Edelstein 2 looks like a giant, very massive looking mech.
Wait, how far down are you?
Is
I'm
that a
just under
Gundam
September
technically?
30th, full kits, third one down, fourth one down.
See, isn't Gundam just
Oh,
technically just
wait.
Mobile Suit Gundam, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we call it, but
Yeah,
it's
giant
generic
robots.
too.
You call
It's
it,
all Gundam.
you've
Yeah,
turned it
I
into
know.
a genericism.
Yeah,
I'm
sorry,
still
I
a
have.
purist.
I have. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay, but yeah, a couple
So
there.
Titanomachia. I
Gazinka.
know of the series. I haven't seen anything
All right.
about
Well,
it.
there's 2 there from Taika Makaya. Sorry,
Titanomachia.
Side Reaper. That's what it's called.
Huh. The Grim
Looks
Reaper.
looks like another company's come out with Toy Story, the alien from Toy Story,
Yeah.
and
And the
Mickey
little
and
fighter
Minnie.
from Ultraman. Don't forget
Yep,
about that.
yep. Ultraman 80, Sky Higher from Fujimi. What else do we have here?
More
Again,
40th scale armor. They continue to bring out
yeah,
40th scale armor stuff.
and a
So
duck
this
with an ultra egg.
BMD. Yes.
We can't forget the bee duck with the egg. They make some wacky stuff over there. I don't know. What else do we have here? Moving down, there's the Eduard, only in CAD. Someone had a picture of it on the 27th.
Mm-hmm.
Lots
Just
of
the
half
announcement,
tracks.
essentially.
Yep. A lot of stuff coming out in 1/72 for gaming scales. We've been seeing a lot of different vehicles coming out. Again, 3D printed. Motor graders, command post carriers. Even a World War II street tram from Berlin, 1/72 scale. What else?
Yeah, the whole 3D printing side has really broken that mold, so to speak.
Yeah. Then there's some stuff that's not even plastic; it's cardstock. From the 26th, the Mandalorian helmet and the Imperial Walker. There's a bunch of stuff there from a company called Spin Master, but it's all paper, which is pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing stuff what they do. Here's one Jeff may like, a launch vehicle, the Soyuz 2.1. Again on the 26th.
Well, they get this Spin Master company's got Star Wars license and maybe.
we assume
Maybe.
we assume they have Wall-E, Batman.
Because there's also Batman, there's Marvel, so I'm not sure these are all
we're not sure.
Licensed.
How about our Royal Australian Air Force and a ground power unit, 72nd or 48th scale, GPU 20. Yeah, they really need to separate these, whether they're paper or plastic. Obviously, someone from the company discovered ScaleMates and posted everything.
It's too bad Jeff's not here. There's a Velarex, which I've never heard of, a three-wheel car.
Yeah, that looks pretty cool.
Yeah, looks
like that.
Yeah, looks like a dumpier version of a Morgan.
Yeah.
But it has a roof, so.
Well, he's been enjoying.
Unlike a Morgan.
He's been enjoying Ireland because he sent me a picture of a Morgan wagon. Yeah. He said, he said, here's something for you. I said, yeah, how do you get it back? What else here? September 24th, the Soviet passenger car, Gorky M72. Look at that. Looks like an SUV.
72nd, and a whole bunch of other stuff from those guys.
How about full interior with engine, F6F Hellcat, print replica 124 scale in 3D printed. Just the file. So you can
just the data file. Yeah.
Just so you can print your own. Nice Harley Davidson cycle in 1/72nd scale. A Mark I howitzer from World War One.
That's 35th scale.
That would be
English
big.
15-inch.
Yeah, that would be big.
All new tools.
Yeah.
Who's this from?
St. George model.
St. George model.
Never heard of them. Out of France, apparently. You'd
Why
think
would
they'd be out of England. I know. That's what you would think. But it says they're out of France.
Yeah.
And I look at the contact info, and then we have the HMS Victory, an aircraft maintenance crane in 1/72nd from the 40s or 50s. So good for a diorama from 3D Print Mayhem. And also one a couple of days before, the 21st, 1/32nd scale. So yeah, I think that pretty well covers most of it. Oh, wait, Terry. On to the 21st, the Thunderbird tune plane. You got to get an egg plane.
Oh, no.
For your P47. There you go.
Everybody needs an egg plane.
Oh, I know.
You're going to build one at least once.
I know.
I hope it's more cartoonish than that. That's not quite cartoonish enough.
I know. Well, you have to see what you can find. Okay, so that's about it from ScaleMates. Now we're going to have a brief pause as we talk about our sponsor. And that, of course, is Steve at Cult TV Man. So here we go. Let's see what's new from our good friends at Cult TV Man and CultTVManshop.com. Exciting news from the Star Trek Lower Decks TV series, the USS Cerritos. It's finally got a pre-order, sometime being released in December, and you can pre-order it right now for $53.99. And you can also get the Aztec decals as well, and they're also going to be $57.99 for all the Aztecs, and that's 1/1400 scale. As well, the USS Enterprise from Strange New Worlds from Round 2 AMT, 1/1000 scale for $53.99, and the Aztecs are going to be $39.99 for that one. And again, all these are tentatively scheduled for December, so get your pre-orders in while you can. Also, right now, October 3rd is a flash sale, Enterprise in Botany Bay for $1,500. Supplies limited time offer, no holds, no substitution, no rain check. Sale may end at any time. Boldly build a Star Trek model kit. So get your order in for that. That does include a new tool Botany Bay model. Also, Steve and the gang, they're going to be at the big Model Palooza show in Orlando next weekend, October 11th to 13th. It's at the Wyndham Center, 3-11 Main Gate Lane in Kissimmee, Florida. They'll have a wide selection of your favorite Star Trek, Star Wars, 2001, Dune, Space 1999, and all, of course, the cool monster models. They really hope you can see them. And when you see them, make sure you mention that you heard this on the Scale Model Podcast. So don't forget, that's culttvmanshop.com and culttvman.com. Okay, there we go. Always new stuff there. He's got more show announcements than you can shake a stick at. Okay, let's talk a little bit about what's on our benches. So I've got that fictional CF22. I got the top coat on of a lighter gray, but I wasn't happy with the medium gray I put on, especially on the wings. So I'm going to go back, repaint it with the lighter gray and figure out a plan B. This is part of a series, John, I'm doing on what if RCAF topics. So this
I love it. The moment you said CF22, I'm like, wait a minute. What? That sounds awesome.
I come up with awesome backstories too. Like defecting American designers, stuff like that. After their top end aerospace fighter got canceled, they all defected up here. Things like that. Also trying some more painting experiments and several Battletech miniatures. Terry, how about you?
Moving along on getting the stuff I need to get prepped for the Moosaroo diorama done. I need to get more work done on that, but that's moving along. Also taking a little bit of time to do some more prep and filling and everything for the Destroid Tomahawk.
Cool.
The trick is the joints are gray, so I need to get those all painted and masked before I put the bits, like the thigh and the calves and stuff around them.
Right.
So then I can paint those and hopefully not screw everything up.
Oh, I'm sure you'll be fine.
The nice thing is it's a mech, so if there's some it'll get dirtied up anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, John, what about yourself? What you been working on?
Oof. For a while I've been I bought this old 442 at Hobby Lobby because I like the green color, and I used to build cars like I told you guys, and I got away from it for a long time. I was building more aircraft, and part of the reason was I was never able to get that. Actually, at the time, I had never even seen a super shiny finish. And once you go to some of these contests and you see some of the cars that are there, it's like, oh, it is possible. Well, how do you do that? So I wanted to try that, and I haven't gotten around to painting the body because I'm kind of afraid to. And I wanted to try. I've been going through different paints to try out, and I'm a little bit gun shy on my airbrush. So I did get the interior done, the engine's done, and then I because of our show, because of the '60s theme, I started to think of other. You know how it is. It's hard to finish something, but it's really easy to start something new.
Squirrel.
Right?
Yeah.
Squirrel.
So I've got an X-wing that's in progress. I've got an F4F Wildcat that was going to be a Butch airplane, and I just got. we briefly were talking about motorcycles. I don't know if you guys have seen the Tamiya Honda Dax or Monkey that they did a recent tooling.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
I haven't started them yet, but those look like just super fun little builds. So I might just do one of those as a get the mojo back, get something done kind of build. But the next thing I really hope to finish is this 442. And then there's been a couple really nice new tooled Revell kits. I have a lot of Tamiya kits in the stash, and Aoshima, Fujimi, all the really nice Japanese car kits. The Revell 71 Mustang and the new C8 Corvette are magnificent toolings.
Mm-hmm.
The detail on those is comparable to pretty much anything that you'll find. And so I really would like to get those. I haven't put them together yet, but part of it is looking at the plastic and fondling it and realizing, whoa, this is really fine. But then a big part of it too is, okay, does it actually fit together?
Yeah. Or the olds 442. Is that a Revell? And what year is that?
Yes. And when I bought it, I thought it was going to be a disposable kit because I thought it was some junky old tooling. But guess what? It is fairly recently tooled. Like it's a very nice kit. And that's what that's what caused me to then put effort into it. I thought I was just going to throw it together. And then I'm looking at it like, wow, this is really nice. It would be a shame to just, throw it together and try to just get the body color or the body paint smooth. And
So
so
what year is it supposed to be
it's the
from?
71 with like
71?
the lime
Oh,
green
nice.
box cover.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they've been retooling a bunch of that. I noticed our store got a bunch of the new Corvettes in, and they've been very, very popular. They've been selling out from the local shop. So cool. Okay. Our other thing we
Well,
talk.
that's what's nice about the show coming up. You can talk to people who do a good job on the finish and see.
Yep.
There's
Yeah.
so many different ways to do it, but it's layers essentially.
So
Yeah.
I bought MCW enamels because they have a lot of the car colors. I bought a bunch for the 71 Mustang. So like whatever color grabber blue, grabber orange. I was maybe gonna do grabber lime because it's really gross looking, but I thought, well, maybe that's not right.
Well, just make sure you have a paint mule, something to practice on.
Right. And
that's the secret.
And that's actually what this was going to be, but it's such a nice kit, it can't be a mule.
No,
So
you'll have to come up with something else. See, again, you'll have to find something at the show.
That's a gloss enamel, and I'm kind of thinking now, my latest thinking is I like lacquers a lot. Go with something that is semi-gloss. You guys have probably used like the Tamiya lacquers, the LP5, the semi-gloss black.
Yep.
That paint is so bulletproof. Like I've tried to screw up painting with that color, just like hosing it on or dusting it from too far away.
Yeah.
It is so like
a lot of Tamiya paints like that. That's what I find. I can mix Tamiya paint with one arm behind my back and my eyes shut.
And I'm thinking if I spray it, but it's the gloss colors that seem to start to get that little bit of orange peel. And so I thought maybe if I do the body color in a semi-gloss and then come back with just the clear coat as my one finish that I have to really sand back and polish, then maybe that's the way to go.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
This is why I haven't put color on it yet. I can't
all right.
Which paint type to use. So
you got to start somewhere, right?
Right.
That's the secret. Yep. Okay, the other thing we always talk about is what we've been reading lately, and my reading has gone to a snail's pace. I'm still reading about the New York Times, how the newspaper of record survived scandal, scorn, and the transformation of journalism. So I'm still reading that. Haven't really had a lot of time with my wife's health issues, so on to the same thing. Terry, how about you, my friend?
Getting probably fairly close to the end of Steve Brissett's Rise and Fall of Dinosaurs from
I see what you say. I see what you say there in the notes. I think that would be near the end.
Yeah, some of them did survive though, right?
I know.
And they're learning more about how far those avian
now
ones
with the big
went
asteroid.
Back. Right. So that's the last chapter, I think, of it, or the last super chapter of it. It's been pretty interesting. I didn't know as much as I presumed I know, but you know that's the nature of science.
Yep.
So
exactly.
his writing is very compelling, and the story of the people behind it, which it's always the story of the people that are fascinating. In this group, paleontologists there's a lot of big personalities in this science.
Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
No, even I know that. Exactly. All righty. John, how about you? Are you a reader?
I've never not been a reader, but I haven't found time to I have a lot of books on my shelf.
That's okay.
Reference materials and other types, but boy, it's so hard for me to just pick one up. It's the kind of thing that, it's almost like modeling. Sometimes you have to. Hector was just saying recently, he's committed now to just sitting down at his workbench for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Even if he just sits there staring at his stuff or moving stuff around.
Yeah.
If you commit the time to it, you'll find that, pick a time frame after a week or two or whatever, you'll find that you've accomplished something. And maybe that's the thing for reading.
Agreed.
I do a lot of just little bits of things that if I focused on reading for a half hour, I'm sure I could have read Butch O'Hare's biography by now.
Yeah, I generally read at lunchtime. I have a friend, Neil, who does modeling at lunchtime, but he works in a machine shop. So
I do before bed. I tend to try and read before bed.
I
If you guys
I'm
don't
asleep in
mind,
minutes.
I wouldn't mind mentioning a little something about Butch O'Hare. I kind of joked about his biography, but I did want to sort of brush up on his history for this in case you guys asked. And anybody who doesn't know, it's kind of a fascinating character. And in the process of looking, kind of making sure I get some of the facts right, I found that there's a guy who did a YouTube video just a few months ago about Butch O'Hare's life. And it's basically some dude standing in front of a camera and he's showing some photos, but he tells the story for about an hour. And I just found this out an hour or two ago, so I haven't watched it yet. But the comments, there were almost 4,000 comments on this video, and they were all super positive. So,
Cool.
In a nutshell, he was the first ace of World War II and the first naval aviator to get the Medal of Honor. And
well, if you find the link, please email it to me and I'll add it to the
We'll
show
put it
notes.
in the things.
Okay, great.
Yeah, that'd be good. Okay.
Yeah, it's a fascinating character. I find some of these, everyone has a story, and a lot of these pilots that did really well and died young. It's such a compelling story, and it's tragedy, really. Like my father-in-law was in the 4th Fighter Group, and he talked about Kid Hofer all the time, and how tragic it was when he was shot down because it was by friendly fire.
Which I think is Butch O'Hare's. It's been debated over the years, but
but it's like how it affected everyone there, and it consolidated them even more.
Yeah,
they were so successful, they were kind of mascots almost, right? Or icons, I should say, icons.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah,
but
I
there
know
were
in
people.
Butch's case,
We can't forget that.
they sent him back stateside to sell war bonds. He went on a tour. That's why he wasn't at Midway. So that was, his guys were there. The rest of his, well, they moved around a bit, and there was a lot of attrition, and so you had squadrons that were initially on one carrier that moved to another, and then combined with other squadrons. And boy, it's like a crazy web that if you followed individual pilots and where they went and who they flew under and such. But yeah, he was in the same. His squadron commander was John Thatch, from the famous Thatch Weave.
Thatch Weave, yeah.
And so Butch O'Hare, one of Thatch's big things was gunnery skills, right? And Butch O'Hare was one of his sort of prized pupils. So I've always had this kind of fantasy that, like, when Thatch was demonstrating the Thatch Weave, it was Butch O'Hare that he was the other guy doing it, back, weaving back and forth. And that gunnery skill paid off in his Medal of Honor flight. He was essentially defending the aircraft carrier from Betty bombers, 9 of them coming in, and he and his wingman were the only 2 aircraft that were fueled that could get up in the air and intercept these bombers. Everybody else was just returning or had just returned, and so it was, hey, get up there and do what you can. And his wingman, his guns jammed immediately. So now it's Butch O'Hare against 9 bombers. And you've got limited ammo in a Wildcat, right? So it's because of his gunnery that he was able to shoot down 5 of them with his limited ammo, and then the other 4 turned back. If not for him, that carrier would be gone. There's no way.
Yeah.
There was nothing else. There was nothing else to protect. So hence the ace, that's from shooting down 5 bombers, but the Medal of Honor is because he saved the carrier.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah.
All right. Now let's talk about another very, very good kind of guy, Sean from Sean's Custom Model Tools, and we'll see what he's got. Now we're going to talk a bit about Sean's Custom Model Tools, one of our other sponsors of the Scale Model Podcast. Some very cool things, both 3D printed and the Goodman Super Sanding Blocks. Let's start with the Microset and Microsole decal set bottle stand. This is purposely designed for the microscale set and sole. Most modelers over the years, they've tipped these bottles over. So this is a very handy thing. At $14.95, you can put them both together. They're printed in blue and red for easy identification. Comes with a black base, and they actually have little magnets on it, so it helps keeps them in place. Definitely a good deal. I use mine all the time, and I can well recommend them. Let's talk a bit about those Goodman Model Super Sanding Blocks, namely the Value Pack Combo for $28.99. You get the 80 grit, 180 grit, 220, 320, 400, and 600. Just an amazing set, just what you need. And you can also, if you want, you can also get a super sanding block stand for it, which also really makes life a little bit easier, helps things keep it organized. The other thing too is they have the awesome model tape dispenser for your various tapes. It's basically a 3D printed thing. You put spools of your tapes. It's got a little razor blade to help cut it, and it's really, really good design. So yeah, works out really well, and yours for $19.95. So check out these and other amazing deals at Sean'sCustomModelTools.com, and also on Facebook, and tell them that the Scale Model Podcast sent you. Okay, things we've seen. I think these are both Terry Measley's. I see his influence.
Yeah, I actually
here.
remember to put a couple things on here.
Yeah.
I've been following Wolf 3D Resin for a little while. He does a little bit of accurization stuff and some ordnance and things like that. What caught my eye this time around were travel pods for modern aircraft. And I thought, oh, that's great, because not everybody wants to do ordnance on an aircraft,
Right,
or load it all down with
exactly,
ordnance.
yeah.
It can be the biggest pain in the ass to decal and paint bombs and missiles.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, that's not necessarily what you want to show. Maybe it's a demonstration team, and they may have the blue sidewinders on the wingtips on an F-16 or something, but they're going to have travel pods, and I want to get some of these, and hopefully 72nd scale ones for some Valkyries too.
Ooh, that's an idea.
That would be nice, because those demonstration team Valkyries, well, why shouldn't they have travel pods?
Yep.
Those guys got luggage.
Well, exactly. Look at all the stuff he's got here.
Oh,
Pylons.
a ton of stuff.
Oh yeah, you could keep going and going. All in euros, very, very reasonably priced.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very nice.
Then our good buddy Tony Woodson shared some pics from his local shops show, with perhaps the worst tablecloths for a model contest I've ever seen. So have a look.
Yeah, we'll have a look at that.
It's show season, so we're going to see tons of shows around.
We're going to see tons of stuff there. Exactly. But yeah, show season, and we just, we had Torcan a little while ago, and they had a scale auto show in Toronto area just last weekend. So yeah, and we've got a couple of smaller ones coming up in October. So, not as many as you guys. So, but there you go. All right. So, John, we really appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, I appreciate the invite. It's I was kind of dreading. I've never been on a podcast before.
You were fine.
You guys,
fine.
It's
See,
like we're hanging out. This has been great.
You're an old hat, and Hector had to come up with a lame excuse about Taekwondo and breaking boards or something.
He's never going to.
You can do that anytime.
What the hell? Physical fitness?
Yeah, what's with that? So, as we like to say, we're also sponsored by Return to Kit Form, Brett and Chrissy out in Australia. Speaking of Valkyries, you need a mask for your Valkyrie canopy. This is the place to get it. All sorts of other goodies Macross related. For more modeling podcast goodness, check out the other modeling podcasts at modelpodcast.com. I think we're up to 13 different modeling podcasts there. And you can, they're all slightly different themes, slightly different shtick. Always good. Don't forget to leave us a positive review. We're on Facebook, the YouTubes, and of course our very own website, scalemodelpodcast.com. And I always ask our guests, and Terry and Jeff, send me some pictures, and we'll throw it up in the show notes as well. We also have merchandise on Redbubble. Anything else we need to talk about before we close it out, Terry?
I don't think so. I'll
I
send
think
you a
we're
picture of a bunch of stuff I
yeah.
got from Hobby Link Japan. So
Alrighty.
I'll
John,
send
if
you
you
that
want to
picture.
send me some pictures of what you've been working on.
Yeah, I'll send you some photos of what I got from Plaza Japan.
That's
Like
all
if you're
right.
ordering stuff
That's
from
all right.
Japan right
That's all
now,
right.
there's
Make
something
me
wrong with
jealous.
you. Like,
Make me
Yeah.
jealous.
Oh,
Make me jealous.
exactly.
Yeah.
This is the
Okay.
time to buy from Japan.
yes, it is.
Exactly.
There's some great deals there.
I know,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to behave myself. I got so much. I bought so many Valkyries this year. It's not funny. So, but anyway, that doesn't mean I won't look, and then when my wife asks, I'll just blame the Paria. So, alrighty. So for episode 147 of the Scale Model Podcast, my name is Stuart Clark.
And I'm John Novak.
And I'm Terry Measley reminding you got to start somewhere.
That's good. That's awesome. Thank you, and be well.